John, whenever you're ready.
Hi everyone, my name is Kaylee McCusker. I'm here with Phil Reed, Christina Popper, Brianna Torres, and Lena Vigiano, and we are the Fantastic Four plus Lena, and we're doing our presentation tonight on teamwork. So teamwork is, sorry, I'm losing my voice. Teamwork is a term that we all are very familiar with, but it's defined as a combined action of a group of people, especially when effective and efficient. So we all use teamwork every day, whether we realize it or not. So of course it's something we're familiar with. We're going to go deeper as to what teamwork really is. According to President and CEO of Sandler Training, Dave Mattson, he thinks that there are 6 key benefits to using teamwork in the workplace that he finds successful and that he has found successful over his 25 years of experience. So the first one is that teamwork fosters creativity and learning. Creativity thrives when people work together. It's much easier for people to brainstorm with each other rather than on their own, and it keeps things effective, it keeps things fresh, and it keeps things moving. It also creates a sense of enthusiasm. Working in solitude can be boring, so working with others is more pleasant. It also blends complementary strengths, so you're able to build on the talents that other people in your team have. So someone could be good at planning, but some other people in your group might be good at organizing. So if you use those great abilities and skills and put them together, you have a great team ahead of you. Teamwork also builds trust, especially when it comes to relying on others. Putting trust in coworkers establishes a relationship that creates an unbreakable bond, and it can endure conflict. It provides a great feeling of safety and allows new ideas to emerge as well. It also teaches conflict resolution. Conflict is bound to happen no matter what, just because of the way people work, different backgrounds and such. It can make for a great success, but it can also create for great challenges and resentment along the way. But teams are also encouraged to resolve problems within themselves rather than seeking management for help. It also promotes a wider sense of ownership. When teams work on something that they're proud of, it makes them happy to present, and create notable work makes employees feel fulfilled. It also allows people to engage in their company and look forward to a bigger picture and know that they're adding to something that's going to be great. It also encourages healthy risks. So employees that work alone are often sheltered more and aren't encouraged to think outside the box. But teams that do work together are able to think more effectively and efficiently together. It also spreads out responsibility, so if a project is to fail, it doesn't fall back on one person alone. So these are some companies that are famous for their use of teamwork. They're all brands that we know and love. There's Casper, Ford, Uber, and Chevy. They all pride themselves on the success and their companies on teamwork and the concept of teamwork, and they all believe that teamwork does make the dream work. So as I mentioned before, we all use teamwork in so many different aspects of our life, and it's also used around the world, whether we realize it or not. So it's used in families, cities, businesses, organizations, sports teams, throughout your school, in so many different ways that you might not even realize. Teamwork is a huge, crucial part of the workplace and in everyday life. So a wise man once said, teams are fundamental to practically all human endeavor.
I just graded her out at 100%.
So we decided to use Tuckman's stages of group development to talk deeper about teamwork. So there's the stages of forming, storming, norming, performing, and adjourning, and we're going to talk about those to help classify the characteristics of teamwork. So to start off with, the forming stage is obviously the first stage of group development, and this is when your team forms for the first time, you're meeting each other for the first time, and you're kind of getting that initial push to get yourself out there and start working on whatever presentation or whatever project you have in front of you. And yes, it can be very awkward. It's the one part that everyone kind of dreads. It's very uncomfortable. It's the icebreaker that nobody wants to be a part of. Nobody knows each other, so there's a lot of anxiety and uncertainty that nobody really knows how to deal with, but eventually it becomes something not to worry about. Another factor is groups must meet to discuss opportunities and challenges. They have to set clear goals for themselves, divide up responsibility, and understand the purpose of their presentation, why they're doing it, why their company needs them to do this, and how the team will run, like on a schedule, or who's going to be in charge of everything specifically. In the beginning, most team members like to work individually rather than just be on a team, like on board right away. They also often feel like confused and lost, and they're looking for guidance and direction, but they're afraid to ask their other teammates for help because they feel like they're the only ones in that sense. From working individually, most people realize that it's better and more beneficial to work in a group. It's easier to brainstorm with groups and not with one person, like I mentioned before. If they think with other people, they can accomplish more than they would by thinking on their own. At this point in the forming stage, it's almost rare that you would still see conflict arising. It's definitely still possible, but the chances are low. And that's specifically because people are more comfortable with each other. They're more willing to work with each other and not necessarily butt heads or opinions on what the tasks at hand are. So just some outcomes that can happen at the end of the forming stage. People are excited and willing to work together. They're happy to be on track for success, and they're enthusiastic as their progress is moving forward into the next stages of their presentation.
Hey everyone. So next stage in team development is the storming stage. I'm going to be talking about what the stage is and how you can improve the stage. So the storming stage is when your processes and your team structures are first developed. This is where you're gaining the trust with your teammates, you develop your relationships, but your feelings are going to be changing from the initial stage. Feelings of anger and frustrations will start to arise, and you're going to feel more individual than as a team member. And from those feelings are going to be new behaviors. From those behaviors, from the feelings of anger and frustration are new behaviors and new conflicts will arise. And there's going to be arguments about your goals, expectations, the roles or responsibilities that were set in the forming stage. And then now you recognize that there are new feelings and behaviors, so you have to really be task-oriented and get back on track. A good way to do this is to take your bigger goals and to set them as smaller steps that you can achieve. Task and conflict management are essential for this to get on track. So now that you recognize that there is a conflict, how can you prepare to resolve the conflict? First, you have to acknowledge that there's a conflict, discuss the impact, agree to a cooperative process, and then agree to communicate. So I'm going to talk a little bit more in depth about these. Before you can resolve the conflict, you have to acknowledge that there is a conflict. In the beginning stages, people might think that conflicts are trivial or that it's just healthy debates. You need healthy debates and conflict for the success of your team. But if concerns are still arise, just be open to your team members about them and voice your concerns. You have to analyze the impact that these conflicts are having on your team dynamics. Your team dynamics propel your performance. So if they're getting impacted through the conflict, you have to fix them so that your team can be successful. You have to agree to a cooperative process. This is basically being a team player. You have to set your ego aside, your personal agendas to a side, and work as a team to accomplish your goals. This is just a funny picture of ants working together to lift the barbell. As one person, they can't lift it, but as a team, they could succeed in their objective. Communication is also very key for the success of teams. I love to say to over-communicate with your team members and keep transparency with each other so that you can be successful, so your team members know what you're thinking and what your views are so you can work together. A major aspect of communication is listening. To be a great active listener, you must pay attention to the person, actually look at the person who's talking, and don't talk over them. Whenever they're done talking, ask any questions or follow any directions that were said. Really try to visualize what was being said in order to work out things. So to recognize that there's conflict, how can you improve the storming phase? So first you can tell your members what the Tuckman rules are so they can identify what stages you are in team development so they can better them. You can also analyze your own strengths. You have to do this before you can analyze your other team members' strengths. And a great way to do this is through psychometric analyses. I'll be going into the Myers-Briggs personality indicator and then the Belbin's team roles. So the Myers-Briggs personality indicator consists of a bunch of qualities: introverts, extroverts, sensors, intuitors, feelers, thinkers, judgers, and perceivers. I circled this one because I'm personally an introverted sensor, thinker, perceiver. I'll be going into what those are. So extroverts, they rely better with talking and rather than thinking. Introverts are more self-reflective, while extroverts talk more. Sensing people are more down to earth, while intuition people are more visionary people. Sensing people use their senses to identify world problems. Thinking and feeling, thinkers are more logical and objective based, while feelers are more value based and subjective. Judgers are more organized and controlled, while perceivers are more open and go with the flow. They're more reactive. And then Belbin's team roles identifies that there's 9 roles to the team. Your team contributes to the success of the team through these roles, through thinking-oriented, people-oriented, or action-oriented people. So then, action-oriented roles includes the shaper, who challenges the teams to improve, the implementer, who puts ideas into action, and then the complete finisher, who ensures the timely completion and all the micro details to meet the deadlines of whatever your task is. The people-oriented roles is the coordinator who acts as the chairperson. He's really structuring the whole team, almost like the team leader. The team worker who encourages cooperation, but they may be indecisive. And resource investigator explores outside opportunities to then bring back to your team. So then that's another factor. The plant presents new ideas and approaches. They're the one that creates the ideas, while the monitor evaluator analyzes the options from those ideas. And finally, the specialist provides specialized skills to bring back to the team. So now that you understand what storming is and how to get better at it, we'll pass it over to the next stage.
I'll be doing the norming stage. This is where the groups start to resolve their differences, appreciate others and their strengths, and respect their leaders. Now that the team members know each other better, they may socialize together and they're able to ask one another for help and provide constructive feedback. People develop a stronger commitment to the team goals and start to see a progress towards it. Group members use healthy conflict resolution styles such as risk and pause. When problems arise, discussions are not based on who is to blame, but how to fix the current situation. With open communication, constructive feedback is able to occur, and team members make an effort to move on and set aside their differences to achieve their goals. Team members should accept the constraints as a positive reality and not as a roadblock. As they try to understand personality and learning styles, they have a huge effect on all members. Members should welcome and accept all personality traits and try to reach a consensus on a procedure that the team works and not the other way around. Identifying problems and solving the problem is a huge step for a team, and it's extremely important. In the norming stage, the team members must be aware of the problem and actively think of solutions to try to solve them with eliminating personal differences. Team members need to come together in this stage so that they're able to move forward and achieve the success that they want. Increased trust is one of the main characteristics of the norming stage. Trust is hard to get, but it's easy to lose. As a team, when you give trust to others, you begin to feel more comfortable and you communicate more openly.